know that Central Illinois farmers are known around the world for growing one of America's favorite Thanksgiving Day desserts? Can you guess what it is? Did you guess pumpkin pie? If you did, you're correct. Well, my friends and I had a few pumpkin questions. We're better to get those questions answered than from a few Central Illinois FFA members.
Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I have a pumpkin question. Where did pumpkins originate, and why do we carve pumpkins at Halloween?
Hi Caitlin, I'm Riley. Thanks for asking the question, why do we carve pumpkins on Halloween? So basically, over 9,000 years ago, Irish people started carving turnips to scare away the evil ghost Jack-o'-lantern. When colonists came to America, they found pumpkins, which are much larger and easier to hollow. They placed candles in the middle to basically serve the same purpose, and it became an American tradition. Caitlin, thanks for asking your questions about where pumpkins originated. So pumpkins are an original to the American New World. They've been cultivated for 9,000 years in North and South America. When the colonists came to America, natives taught them how to grow pumpkins and what pumpkins basically do. They ate pumpkins so much that settlers even wrote poems about them. They are part of the vining plant family, just like cucumbers and squash and gourds and a lot of other things. And they were a big part of the natives' food group because they ate basically corn, beans, and squash, and they're in the squash family. So thanks for asking your question.
Hi, my name's Lexi and I have a question. Why are pumpkins orange?
Hi Lexi, I'm Bree. Thank you so much for asking your question, why are pumpkins orange? And pumpkins are a lot like leaves during the fall season, which means they start out green and then change to orange. And sometimes pumpkins aren't always just orange. They can be red, white, and even blue. The reason for this is determined by the temperature, the length of the day, and the amount of moisture in the soil. The moisture determines the time in which a pumpkin changes color. The temperature accelerates the change in color. And then the length of the day determines if the pumpkin will stay green or not. So in the fall, our days are shorter, so it can't produce chlorophyll, which makes the pumpkins green. And that's why pumpkins turn orange.
Hi, my name's Alex, and I was wondering why pumpkins come in all different shapes and sizes and colors.
Hi Alex, I'm Kate, and I'll be answering your question about why pumpkins are different shapes, sizes, and colors. Pumpkins come in all different varieties, and that's what makes them different. Pumpkins, while they're in the fields, can cross-pollinate each other, which means that they pollinate each other to make a new pumpkin. Sometimes farmers, seed breeders, and pumpkin planters will do this on purpose to make it something new. Pumpkins that are put in pumpkin pie are a different variety than a pumpkin that is grown for its size, like the Atlantic giant. Just like people, pumpkins are all different shapes, sizes, and colors.
Hi, I'm Luke, and I have a question about pumpkins. Why do we eat pumpkin seeds?
Hey Luke, my name's Kyle, and today I'm going to talk to you about why pumpkin seeds are healthy for you. They're a really good source of omega-3s, antioxidants, and magnesium and copper. Now, magnesium really helps with your nightly rest, and it really helps keep your mood up. Now, whereas copper, it really helps you, keep a high energy throughout the day. So if you maybe get a little tired through the middle of the day, you should maybe snack on some of those. And omega-3s really help with your heart health. So if you, maybe want to do some preventative actions, maybe eat some pumpkin seeds. And antioxidants really help with to prevent aging and to prevent chronic diseases. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joshua and I have some pumpkin questions. Why is there goo in pumpkins and why do pumpkins have stems?
My name's Coden. I'm here today to answer your question of why pumpkins have goo in them and why they have stems. That goo is actually made up of fibrous strands and then the pumpkin seeds. Most people just call them pumpkin guts, pumpkin brains, or simply goo. Pumpkins are 90% water, which really adds to that slime factor. The goo from a sugar pumpkin or a pie pumpkin is mainly used for pumpkin pies for food because it's a lot sweeter and has a lot more flavor than the pulp from a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin that you carve and get from a grocery store. Jack-o'-lantern pumpkins are specifically grown to be carved. They're not really meant to be eaten, although they are edible, but their flesh is really fleshy and then grainy and watery and isn't the best. It's better to eat a pie pumpkin or a sugar pumpkin. The Dickinson variety is the one actually chosen to be used famous canned pumpkin that is produced nearby in Morton, Illinois. For your other question, why pumpkins have stems, the stem is typically considered the handle of the pumpkin. It's located on the top of the pumpkin, and while the pumpkin is growing, it attaches to the vine and acts as sort of an umbilical cord to transfer nutrients between the vine and the pumpkin. While the pumpkin is growing, it's green because it's still alive, it's still living, there's still photosynthesis going on, but as the pumpkin starts ripening, it starts to turn brown because it's starting to die off, it's almost ready to be harvested. You have to be very careful not to pick a pumpkin up by the stem because they can break off really easily. The best way to pick a pumpkin up is to grab the stem, rock it, and then pick it up this way.
Hi, my name is Luke, and I have a question about pumpkins. Why do they have lines, and why do some of them have bumps?
Hey Luke, my name's Kate, and I'll be answering your question on why do some pumpkins have bumps and some pumpkins have lines. It is not unnatural or unusual for pumpkins to have bumps. However, due to selective breeding, we have really weeded out this natural tendency. That is why today, you mainly see pumpkins with lines, otherwise known as ribs. Each line, or rib, represents seeds inside that pumpkin. A fun activity to do would be to compare the number of lines and seeds in a large pumpkin compared to the number of lines and seeds in a small pumpkin. Which one do you think would have more?
Thank you, Princeville FFA, for answering our pumpkin questions.